Hi, Second Mile family. My name is Christe, LePeau, and I was asked to share how I'm personally processing this current season of racial tension and generally racial injustice as a believer. So, to do that, let me give you a little bit of background. The work of racial reconciliation is personal for me. From a very early age, I can remember knowing that I looked different and therefore was being treated differently. For example, my brother, who I think looks more Korean than I do, was mercilessly bullied in elementary school when we lived in Mississippi. And I always remember whenever we had friends over, I was always anxious about the kind of food that we were going to serve and hated having to answer why kimchi smelled the way it did, because I didn't really know. But I remember it was offensive to others. In fourth grade, I distinctly remember also asking my mom to just drop me in the middle of the Pacific Ocean because that's where I belonged, halfway between the US and Korea. And at the age of 12, my family restationed once again because we were a military family, and we ended up living in South Korea for 6 years. But even in Korea, I was stared at, I was different, and this just furthered my belief that I didn't belong anywhere. So after graduating high school in Korea, I moved to Tucson to attend the University of Arizona. And during college was really where I worked to understand my racial identity. I started asking hard questions and really wrestling with this concept. And thankfully, I had a group of people who were ahead of me in the process, and they were able to help me navigate through questions like, what does it mean to be Korean, a Korean American woman? Like, how do I do both? How do I honor my Korean heritage and my American, my white family? And through this time, I was able to find solace in the fact that, yes, I am a biracial person, but the cornerstone of my identity is that I am a daughter of Christ. This was the cornerstone. This is where from everything rooted. And that's how I navigate the world today. And this drives my passion for racial reconciliation, that God has created each of us in his image. And we are called to both love God and love our neighbor. Because as Jesus told us, these are the two greatest commandments. Embracing and celebrating diversity opens us up to understanding more of who God is, because we're able to see a more complete picture of God when our body is diverse. And when we love our neighbor, we are in turn loving God because our neighbor is made in the image of God. So fast forward to today, our nation is raging with pent-up frustration, anger, hurt, and pain. I'm quick to pause my own reaction and check in with my heart. In my own personal study, I've spent nearly all of 2020 in the Book of Lamentations. And it's not a common book to the American church. Generally, we have a hard time engaging in the spiritual discipline of lament. It's uncomfortable and we are clumsy, but I personally have found so much depth for this particular season, for this very season, by digging into the discomfort of lament. The Book of Lamentations expresses the heartache experienced after the destruction of the city of Jerusalem by Babylon in 587. It serves as a memorial, a voice for the voiceless. It is a confession from the people who've gone astray from God. And it is also a cry of protest from those who are suffering. And through it all, a remarkable trait about the book is that God does not speak. He does not answer the cries of the destitute in the morning. The entire book is the people's process of reaching out to him, of lamenting their struggle and their pain. And in fact, the book ends much where it begins. The people are still crying out to God. They are still suffering. There's been no immediate change to their lives. But over the course of their processing, they have now resolved that even in the suffering they are enduring, they will turn to God. Chapter 5, verses 18 through 22, which is the last section of the Book of Lamentations, says, "For Mount Zion, which lies desolate, jackals prowl over it. But you, O Lord, reign forever. Your throne endures to all generations. Why do you forget us forever? Why do you forsake us for so many days? Restore us to yourself, O Lord, that we may be restored. Renew our days of old, unless you have utterly rejected us and you remain exceedingly angry with us." The people lean into the reality that both darkness and hope can exist and abound. Both darkness and hope are true in their experience, and both must be heard, and the presence of each does not delegitimize the other. I bring these truths into my processing of the recent tensions that have been building in our country. As more and more lives are senselessly lost, I hold both to the darkness of the reality of the racist roots that exist in our country with the hope that Jesus can restore us. Is it overwhelming to press in and immerse my mind in the darkness of our reality? Absolutely. Am I motivated to do it to love my neighbor more? Yes. And does Jesus offer me the hope that I need in order to press on and to continue wading through the muddy waters? Yes, he does, and I'm so thankful that he does. We live in the already not yet. We as believers must turn to Jesus for our hope, leaning into the promise that he offers of restoration. I believe this work is just another part of the process of sanctification. And through this season, I have been praying for our church. As we awaken to the lived experience of our neighbors, I pray that we will begin to ask ourselves some hard questions about how to love our neighbor more fully, that we wouldn't allow the same old us versus them narrative to define our body and cause division. Instead, I've been praying that we would cling to the hope that Jesus offers, link arms together, seek to understand others before making our own point understood. In short, I've been praying that through this season, we would learn how to more fully love God and love our neighbor. Thanks, everyone.